BlackBusters.
What's cracking, family? What's going on? We are back again for another episode of BlackBusters, the best movie review podcast in the world.
In the world, Craig.
In the world, Craig.
In the world, Craig.
In the world, Craig.
Uh-huh.
We are doing it again. We are doing a part 2 of a film we've already done, of a series we've already done. Not a film, but a series that we've already started. And before I get to that, I'm your host, Big Ja, along with my co-host,
Tone Lowrey.
Tone Lowrey.
Yeah, he's back.
He's back. He's
Tone
back.
Lowrey.
Yeah, Tone Lowrey.
Lowrey.
Yes, sir. Man, I'm sure if you guys are film buffs like we are, when I say Tone Lowrey, you know we talking about Bad Boys.
Yes.
But not part 1, because we did it already. We're doing part 2, Bad Boys 2. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Starring Martin Lawrence and Will Smith.
Yep.
And added to the cast, we got Gabrielle Union in this one.
Sprinkle a little Gabby Union in there.
Sprinkle a little bit of Gabby in there, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's dope. I really enjoyed part 2. They did a great job with the sequel, you know. But yeah, this obviously is Michael Bay is the director, and you can tell it's Michael Bay written all over it.
Damn, isn't that so?
Yeah.
Like you could tell, like this is a Michael Bay movie.
Yeah, signature, and it's dope.
Yeah.
The signature camera up, the slow motion, them looking towards over there yonder, the dramatic look, the camera this way. Yeah, that's Michael Bay, man.
Michael Bay to me is like all pop, no corn.
Yeah.
Like what I mean about it is that his movies look amazing. Like his movies are amazing. And Michael Bay is just like, just give me more action, give me more camera shots. But they be like, but Michael, what about the direction? Don't worry about the direction. Don't worry about that. Make some shit explode, right? Like, you know, and it works. It works.
Get some catchy dialogue, you know, because you know, especially with these films, these bad boy films, which I think is probably the best buddy cop films you got. Now, there's a lot of buddy cop films out there, so we'll compare. And I'm gonna say this right now: we haven't done this yet, but we're gonna have to do Rush Hour 1 soon. All right.
I think like it's Chris Tucker. If we did Sister Act. And if we did Sister Act, then we have to do, it's almost like doing Sister Act and to a certain extent doing Beverly Hills Cop, like pre-approves Rush Hour to be done because they essentially have the same setup and same premise. So you know, Rush Hour is now on the list for sure.
Yes, and you don't get no blacker than Chris Tucker. Come on, man.
None. I mean, he is a Negro.
Yes, he is.
He is colored in Rush Hour.
He's colored. Yeah. I mean, you never touch a black man's radio.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So, Bad Boys Part 2. I think they did a great job doing a sequel. Part 1 I thought was great. Part 2 I thought was even better.
What did you like about part 2 in comparison to 1?
The plot was both the plots were solid. Both the plots were good plots, but I think the girl in part 1, there's no girl in part 1. The girl in part 1 isn't as good as Gabrielle Union.
Okay.
Like the character, I didn't care so much for the character. I didn't really like the character. I didn't mind her. I understand that, you know, she's a witness, so of course. But I would have loved for, let's say, just for the sake of the conversation, Gabrielle Union was in part 1 as the witness. I think the actress Gabrielle Union would have brought more flavor to the character. Yeah, you know, I think and she would have been funnier. They both were attractive women, so they both passed the attractiveness test. But like going back and forth between Gabrielle Union playing the witness versus, going up against Marcus Burnett,
Mm-hmm.
all throughout the movie, and then going in, you know what I'm saying, being across from Will Smith eventually. I think that would have been a great if I had to switch it up, I would have switched it there. But because part one I like so much, I didn't mind the woman that much. But I'm comparing her to part two.
So I'm right here with you. Like I'm right here with you. I like the story in part one. Like I like the idea that like Martin Lawrence had to pretend to be Mike Lowrey. I kind of liked that whole like trading places kind of vibe where he's got to live that life and Will Smith is at home kind of doing his thing. I think it's a neater story. I think it's an easier package, and makes the movie more traditional. Part two is funner somehow, right? Like, you know, it's just it's a funner movie. To me, it's not like as tight story wise or plot wise as the first one, but there's just something about two, and I think it's because I think like just Martin and Will were cooking. I think they the movie definitely feels blacker than the first one, right?
Okay.
Like, you know, like just the way they was riffing and the way they was talking and everything, like it just, they were kind of doing the best at what they do, and it just works in two.
Will Smith was doing, hey, you know, Will Smith is usually clean. He's cussing. I forgot how vulgar he was. And I'm not sitting there saying that being vulgar is the better. No, not at all. But it just made me feel like Will Smith's character, Mike Lowrey, was more I could relate to him more. Not because he cussed, but because I felt like he might have came from the same place I came from. You know what I'm saying? And he just
perfect.
You know what I'm saying?
You're perfect. Yeah, he's a much more relatable brother in two than he is in one. Like in one, like he's a prep school kid. He's a trust fund baby. You know what I mean? Like, you know, he seems like the pretty Negro that you like, man, I don't even want to mess with him because this fool is just too, like, he ain't even real. He just too. But in the second one, he feels hella down to earth.
Yeah.
He feels down to earth. He feels connected.
Right. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I'm gonna look this up. And those who are watching, look this up too to see and let me know in the comments what you think. I think that Martin Lawrence got Will Smith the job.
The first time, for sure.
Because at the time, Martin Lawrence might have been the bigger, I don't know if the bigger star, but he might have been the first attached to the film. Maybe that's what it was.
I think he was the bigger star.
Maybe so.
Let's see. Because, I mean, okay, so I think hell yeah. Because the first Bad Boys came out in what, 96?
96.
Okay. And then at that time, Independence Day didn't come out until 97, right?
And that's Independence Day came out in 96 as well.
Okay. And then, of course, Men in Black comes out in 97. But I think that the principal photography on Bad Boys maybe predated Independence Day. Not that it matters, but to your point, Martin was bigger. Even even though like Fresh Prince had the show, and the show was very popular, but the show wasn't as popular as Martin. Right? Like, you know, and it wasn't as beloved as Martin. So I think Martin absolutely, you know, and it may not have been, you know, by leaps and bounds. Yeah, exactly. But Martin was the bigger star.
I thought I watched an interview or I watched someone talk about that, and they were saying who they were going to get, who they were thinking about getting at the time before Will Smith. And Martin was like, nah, what about my boy Will? Like, I would love to rock with Will. You know what I'm saying? Okay, we'll try to see if we can get him. And or not see if we can get him, we'll try him out. And I, like you said, the story might have been stronger in part one, and that's because they were trying their best to make a dope ass film with these two actors. And I think part two, if there was no part one, if the part one wasn't so successful, part two they wouldn't even tried it because they saw. I think they already knew what they had in part one. So part two they had more fun. They probably were able to blow up more stuff, and like the amount of fight scenes and action scenes they had in part two was crazy. They had many shootouts, so many. I feel like they had more. I think they had more budget, You know what I'm saying? And I think they had more leeway to just do, to cook and just do what they wanted.
I mean, by the time 2003 rolls around, just for Michael Bay. So Michael Bay's first movie is Bad Boys in 95.
See?
Right? He does Bad Boys in 95. He does The Rock in 1996.
Love it.
He does Armageddon in 98.
Ooh.
He does Pearl Harbor in 2001, and then Bad Boys 2 in 2003. So he
proved himself.
He's not even worried. Like, probably by the time they all come to 2003, they're not worried about going broke. They're not worried about this movie wrecking their careers. If the movie feels like some people that know they're on a rocket ship up, right? And so, like, and Michael Bay at this point, Michael Bay knows, what's the studio going to do? Shut me down? I'm Michael Bay, right?
Michael
Like,
Bay. I'm Michael Bay.
Yeah. What's the studio going to do? Get rid of Will Smith or Martin Lawrence? At that point, it's not like the startup, right? They're not the startup that they were in 95. They're a machine.
They're a machine.
And the movie reflects that.
Exactly.
The movie reflects everybody's flex.
Right. I agree. Also, and the reason why we're doing Bad Boys 2 right now is because of Bad Boys 4, which I haven't seen yet.
I haven't seen it. Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
But I say, you know what, Tone, let's do Bad Boys 2 because Bad Boys 4 is coming out, and I heard it was dope. I heard it did well in the box office, and it's important. You know, of course, even the stuff going around now, people are concerned about Martin Lawrence. He doesn't look the same. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I'm talking about just, I've seen clips of him in public promoting the movie and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He's not the same Martin that I remember in part 1.
Right.
And every part 2, part 3, he seems to get a little slower, this and the other, but I think the chemistry still works. Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, like, you got the guy, I feel like their personalities and work so well together. You got the hot shot Mike Lowrey, and then the kind of like the runt, not the runt. He's like the less attractive, less athletic, not as tall, not as charismatic guy and these two guys meet together since they were in high school. They were boys, homeboys.
Yeah.
And here they are. So even though Martin's character, I think they wrote him because they saw him declining. I think they wrote that into it, like, he's getting too old for this shit. On some Mel Gibson, Danny Glover. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Which is a great buddy cop. Great buddy cops. So
okay, so couple of little quick deviation questions real quick.
Okay.
One is because I want to get into some of your other favorite buddy cop movies. But what I wanted to know was that I know there's more body of work with Martin and Will, but in terms of chemistry, is it Martin and Will or is it Martin and Eddie? Ooh. Now, Martin and Eddie only did one movie together, which was Life. But that was a hell of a movie, right? And so I'm just thinking about, like, who I thought he had better just overall chemistry with. It's hard for me to say.
It's not hard. I mean, it's hard for me to say. You just opened up a situation where it's Eddie. You're asking to me. You're looking at Kobe and Jordan.
Yeah. Okay.
But with Martin and Will, that's Kobe. That's Kobe
and Gasol.
Huh?
That's like Kobe and Gasol.
Ooh, I would give Kobe. While it's a guy who he hasn't played with. Kobe and Shaq.
Kobe and Shaq.
Because Will Smith is he's a mega star, right? He's a bigger star than Eddie Murphy. Even though Eddie Murphy decided not to go the route of Eddie Murphy was going to be what Will Smith is, meaning like 48 Hours 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Beverly Hills Cop 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. I think Will Smith is for sure the bigger star. Yeah. But I think Eddie Murphy is the bigger talent.
Yeah, of course. Hence him being Jordan. Him being Jordan and Will Smith being Kobe to me. I mean, Will Smith being Shaq.
Mm-hmm.
You get no bigger. You get no more dominant than Shaq.
You're always going to have a better outcome, I think, fucking with Eddie than anybody else, right?
Yeah,
like
Eddie,
as good as Bad Boys is, and Bad Boys is great, it would have been better with Eddie and Martin.
What if it was Marcus Burnett and Axel Foley?
Come on.
That
might be the greatest movie ever made. That might be the greatest movie ever made. Because Marcus Graham could have played Mike Lowrey. He 100% could have been Mike Lowrey.
Yes.
And he would have been because that's what we talked about. What we talked a little bit about when we did the first one is we talked a little bit about how I thought that Martin carried the first movie, right? And I got some pushback on that. Some people were disagreeing, but I thought that really the movie works because Martin is so good in it, right? Will Smith is great, but he's on the cusp of being leading man Will Smith, right? He's not quite there, and he's not super funny in the first one. We get the running scene with the shirt open. But he's not funny yet, right? And so Martin does all the work. Now, if you put Marcus Graham, if you put Eddie Murphy, in that role with Martin,
Marcus Graham with a splash of Axel Foley in there,
and Eddie would have been like, "Let me play this other character." They would have got him in the makeup. You know what I mean? He
would have played one of those. He would have played one of those. One of the Haitians. Yeah,
exactly. He he would have killed it. Not a knock to Will Smith, but I just think we are dreaming Mount Rushmore of black talent, and so it's fun to imagine a scenario where. But I think that's a testament to how important Martin is to the franchise, because notice at no point in time do we ever want to sub him out, right?
You can't. Who could you? I mean, the closest at that time is and I'm a fan of him, not a huge fan of him, but I know he's extremely talented. Eddie Griffin. And I don't.
Different movie.
He's funny, different funny though, different funny. Martin Lawrence is a little guy, but his tough guy, I believe. He reminds me of guys I went to high school with and middle school with, and that was 5'5", 5'7". And fighting, want to fight everybody on the basketball court, and winning some of those fights. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Martin
plays a great underdog, like you said. Like the word you were using was runt, not runt, because Martin never comes across as a punk, but but he always kind of gets the short end of the stick, right? And he plays that really well, the way he be upset, the way he be mad, exactly. He plays a short end of the stick guy very well.
And this is what I love about Martin Lawrence and the characters that he plays. He brings this to the characters. He's the underdog that doesn't know he's the underdog.
So true.
He's the guy that
so true.
He'll look at a 6'5" dude that's 250 and be like, "Bro, man, not today, bro. This ain't the time, partner." And he's serious. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get Albert Cannon whoop ass on your ass, man. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't understand. You're 5'7", 5'6", bro. Sit down. Yeah. He doesn't know.
He's the underdog that doesn't know he's the underdog.
I love that.
And that's why he plays that character so well.
Yeah. And but better than anyone. I don't think anyone does it better than Martin Lawrence, bro.
Yeah. And then in Will Smith, this is a very likable Will Smith.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know if this is a hot take, but Will Smith isn't likable in every movie that he does.
Here we go.
I'm not a fan of the character he played in Men in Black. I wouldn't want to hang out with that guy. Right? Like a lot of the characters that he plays, I'm just that's just too much. You know what I mean? Doing this. Here goes the Teen Wolf, the guy that's doing too much all the time, right?
Teen Wolf, the triple flip, front flip, dunk.
Exactly.
The dancing and pop locking on the truck while it's moving. Yeah.
Will Smith's characters give off that energy, right? They give off the kind of energy where, if you're having a barbecue at the house, that one guy who is the show, who's the walking headliner, and you love him because I mean, he is what he is, but he does too much. You know what I mean? Like, he tells too many stories. He don't know how to just sit and chill and just participate. Like, he's got to hold court.
He don't have, yeah. I get you. I think he's. I'm gonna have to go back and watch Men in Black. I'm gonna keep it 100. I wasn't a huge fan of Men in Blacks. None of them. They were great movies. I think they were great movies for his career. They were great movies for TV. It's a sci-fi comedy. I think Tommy Lee Jones is great. I love him. I'm a huge fan of Will Smith. So, but the Men in Black with the aliens, that wasn't really my thing. I didn't really dig Wild Wild West either. Was it Wild Wild West?
Yeah, I wasn't into
Men
that.
in Black, the whole franchise. However, then even though this is not a comedy, but like the I Am Robots, the I Am Legends, I dig those movies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think those movies are more enjoyable. I mean, Will Smith kind of suffered from like the premise of movies for a while. Like he was so big that like it just kind of like was like what exactly what's the premise? And if you're down with the premise, then it is what it is. It also ties back to when we were talking about how when we were having that debate about whether like Will Smith movies are considered blockbusters, right? Like because the superstardom and his overall kind of like cultural disconnect, which again brings me back to Bad Boys 2. This is a version of Will Smith that reminds me of a kid from West Philly, right? I don't know what it is, or it was at a comfort level, or what was popping with him in his life and his career, but this is one of the more relatable Will Smiths, right? Like he was cool, he was fun, he was down, he was romantic, he was all the things.
Yeah, I think what helped bring the Gabrielle Union. I think I love her. I love early Gabrielle Union. I mean, I can't say early because she's always good. She's a great actress, and she's even though she plays kind of almost like the same personality in everything she does, but it's such a strong character she plays. She brings a strong presence to her characters. She does it very well. But I think I liked him more. Not more. I appreciated him more in 2 because of the shoot 'em up bang bang and then the soft side he did with her. I love season as part 2 because they made him more human.
Yes.
In part 1, we saw Marcus Burnett had the wife at home, the kids. He was a family man. He was struggling with his job and his wife and taking care of this witness as a female. And he was a family man. And Michael Lowrey, there wasn't much backstory with him. We don't know how he was behind closed doors, except with the witness, the woman that got killed. He knew her, but he was a hot shot. The fact that he actually cared about somebody other than his partner in part 2 mattered to me. Like he really cared about Sid, Gabrielle Union's character, and that whole dynamic with the relationship between Marcus and Mike. He was already getting tired of being his partner because he was going through so much at home. I mean, going through so much at home, so much on the job. He ends up getting shot by Mike Lowrey at the beginning of the movie on accident.
Yep.
Saving his life though. We don't talk about that. Mike Lowrey is he's a loose cannon. Mike Lowry's a loose cannon, but it's for the greater good. Like he's ready, he's dedicated to his friend Mike Lowrey. He's a hot shot. He's down. And I think Marcus Burnett, I think his love for the force, his love for shoot 'em up, bang bang, and detective work has fizzled out earlier than Mike's.
Yeah,
we see that over the parts, part 1, 2, and 3.
Marcus is always disgruntled, right? Like he's always got a complaint. He had complaints in the first one. His wife wouldn't give him no buns. There was that. Like he's generally sour. You know what I mean? In general. Yeah. And so, but I think that's a testament to Martin's performance and portrayal because it's very believable.
Yeah.
Like some actors try to do that and they just act like an ass or they look like an asshole. Like Marcus seems genuinely like I don't want to be bothered with anyone. I don't want to be bothered with you. I don't want to be bothered with the force. I don't really want to be bothered with my family. I don't want to be bothered with my sister. Like, I'm just a sour mofo.
He's turning into the captain.
Yes.
He's going to retire from from detective work and possibly be promoted. He's a great cop. He's a great detective. He's going to be promoted to when Cap retires, he's going to take that spot. And he's going to be the disgruntled captain that's going to get pissed off by all the new hotshot detectives that are ruining the city, but saving the city at the same time.
Yeah, you know drinking Tums. You know what I mean? Like, just that whole vibe.
Right. He was already drinking Pepto-Bismol in the morgue.
Yeah.
Like, those scenes are hilarious. He's trying to keep it together. He has a weak stomach. He's a great cop, but his intangibles, he has a weak stomach. He's scared of rats. He's scared of everything. But he's
the underdog that doesn't know he's the underdog.
Yes.
Yeah. And then he's all those things, Ja, but he's also like oddly brave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he shows up when it's time to show up in the way he should show up. But in between those moments of heroes, we get a real like anti-hero kind of character. Disgruntled, but when it's time to show up and be loyal or be protective or roll out, like, then he shines in those moments. But separate of that, like, you're right, he's a scaredy cat. He's got a weak stomach. He feels like he's not built for it.
He's the regular guy that wasn't All-American. He wasn't the point guard or the shooting guard on this team in high school. He wasn't popular with the ladies necessarily. He's not a big, strong, muscle-bound guy. He's Bruce Willis. He's the guy that's a great cop that has heart, that has to overcome all of the lack of size, lack of machismo. He's just a ragtag common man that does his job great because he works hard at it. He has a lot of heart.
At first, I was going to challenge you on he's Bruce Willis, but now, like, as it settles, you're actually kind of right. I mean, I think that like John McClane has more ready-made hero than Marcus.
More stick, more gumption.
A little bit more machismo. You know what I mean? Like definitely not an underdog, but they definitely share that disgruntled gene. They definitely share that sour, overall sour and off-putting, kind of comparison. But I think that's a in terms of these cop movies, he's more in that class, right? Like,
case in point, you got Bruce Willis. He's that type. Bruce Willis is who he is. He's the divorcee, the guy that lives alone. Like, his wife is moving on to better things, and he's the guy that, this is the guy that's supposed to protect me. Just like in the movie in Bad Boys 1, the chick was like, "You're Mike Lowrey." I thought he would be bigger. I thought he would be muscle bound, tall, strong looking, like Mike Lowrey. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I compared them to, of course, with Bruce Willis's character. He had McClane. He was had more hero persona at the beginning. He started off with that
right off the bat.
Yeah, but if you compare him to, he's getting his ass whooped all through the movie. He's the kind of guy that's getting choked out and reaches for a piece of glass and stabs a guy. He's not Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Finds a way. Right.
He's not Jean-Claude Van Damme that's beating he's in a room with 4 or 5 guys and he's roundhouse kicking everybody to oblivion. He's not that. He's not Steven Seagal that's throwing dudes through windows. He's the guy that's he's getting killed and then he wraps the fire hose around the guy's throat and pushes him off the stairs and he dies. Like, he's a ragtag regular guy that gets the judge, saves the day. Like Michael.
That's why he's so
Burnett.
Important. Yeah. That's why he's so important to the franchise.
Yes,
because he, like, Martin Lawrence balances both Will Smith and Michael Bay, right? Like, because Martin is so relatable and so human, so down to earth. Like, it helps almost kind of like rein in a director that's known for blowing shit up,
jumping off of buildings.
Yes, and also this mega superstar, right? Like, heartthrob, like nothing like him before Will Smith, right?
Right.
Like Martin's presence is like an anchoring force for these movies that like I think keeps the movies in balance. And then I think to this effect, you get a Gabrielle Union who I think plays a similar role, right? Because I think Gabby Union softens Will Smith, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think that like Will in some respects comes off more relatable because the relationship that he has with Sid is believable because of how well Gabrielle Union plays that role.
Right.
So like you have these like kind of galvanizing forces that like keep this movie that wants to blow the fucking lid off, right? Like Babe wants to blow the lid off. Will Smith is a superstar, and it is, you know, Martin and it's Gabby Union that kind of give it the heart that it needs to kind of balance out the directors and the superstars' impulses. It's a great balance.
Yes, sir. Adding Gabrielle Union to the cast on part 2 was perfect because it gave Martin Lawrence a sister. And I can believe that's definitely Baby's sister. He definitely played Big Brother. And she's a cop too, a DEA agent. You know what I'm saying? She's following the footsteps. They probably have other officers in the family in the past. And she's beautiful and she's attracted and she wants her Big Brother's best friend. And you know, if you know the kind of stuff, I love that character. I love that dynamic in a plot because I do that all through my stuff. Especially with the Lesbian Homies series, there's always brothers and sisters and sisters dating the best friend's brother and stuff like that. I like those type of things in showing the relationships. Like it was a scene in part 2 where they were when Martin Lawrence finally found out that his sister and his best friend were seeing each other. And he took it the way they thought he would. He didn't take it positively. He was upset about it because he feels like everyone's doing things behind his back, and he loves Mike. He loves Mike, but he also knows Mike. He said, "Bro, you a dog." I just said it. You know, I don't. You know, the way you've been moving with girls and women our whole lives has always been this fly by night type guy, and I don't like that you're dealing with my sister. You're not good enough for her. And that's a real thing. You can love your best friend, but know him so well, you can be like, man, you don't need to be with my sister. She's not the kind of girl that I want you to, you can't do with my sister the way you've been doing with all the other women.
So I like what you said so much because I had that same debate, Chop. The first part where I asked myself, does Marcus love Mike? Does he really love Mike? And I think I come away with deep down. The kind of the operating thesis that I was fucking with is that Marcus loves Mike, but Marcus don't like Mike. Right? Like he loves him, but he don't like him. Like he don't really prefer to spend time with him. He certainly didn't want Mike around his family. Didn't like if you look at certain parts of the first movie and certain parts of the second movie, you can really kind of get a sense that Marcus ain't really fucking with Mike. But I think deep down he does love him and does ride for him. But it's almost kind of like the last resort. In case of emergency, break glass. Here goes his friendship. But it seemed like he don't really like him though. It seemed like he don't prefer him. It seemed like he don't respect him. Right? It definitely seems like Mike is more invested in his relationship with Marcus than Marcus is invested in his relationship with Mike. It don't always feel like a two-way street. Right. It feels like for Mike, Marcus is the brother he always wanted, the brother he never had, the brother that he needed. And for Marcus, it almost feels like Mike is like the cousin that he got to spend the summer with, but he don't want to. He can't do the things that he want to do because he got to hang out with his little cousin all summer.
And watch this. And I think everything you said is true. And I think it's bigger than, I love him, but I don't like him. I feel like I'm jealous of him.
Ooh, okay.
And he's the rich cousin. He's the cousin that had his own room his whole life. He went to private school. He had a car in the 10th grade. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get a car until I got to college. I had to earn my car. Even in part 1, he was saying stuff like, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I didn't know trust fund. Yeah, I have no trust for him, baby. He's jealous of that, and it's more so about him than Mike. He feels he's at home, not getting no buns from his wife. He got these 3 kids, he's running around. I feel like he's living this non-bachelor life. That his best friend are the same age, they came up the same way. And everything you do is perfect. You don't have to come home and hear nagging. You don't have to come home and grade papers and check the homework. You just got these fancy suits and these expensive cars. You can spend all your money on looking good and being a playboy.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
This is but then you shoot up everything, and you're the perfect cop. You're the perfect leading guy. You're the tall guy. All the girls all the models want to be with. Man, just shut up. Leave me alone. But at the end of the day, if Mike is in trouble, he's going to be the first guy to bail him out and save him. But he feels like sometimes it's not about you, bro. It's about me and my life and how I don't necessarily like my life all the time. I love my wife, but does he like his life? He loves his family, but does he like his family? So to your point, he might love Mike, but not like Mike. He might love his life, but not like his life. That makes
It's
sense.
almost kind of like going back to your earlier point. Maybe he is an underdog that is aware of the fact that he's an underdog.
In this particular case, yeah. Because he's seeing his comparison every day at work.
Yes.
And then not only are you the man at work, you're the man in my house.
You're the man. You're the man in my house.
My wife is telling me how sweet you are. What? No. I don't want that. My wife thinks it's cool that you dated my sister. No, you don't get that. Even in part 2, he's like, Mike, why do you have to? Why do you at my house have to take all the shine, bro? And Mike's like, what are you talking about, man? We family. Man, but you don't have to be here all the time. Like my wife thinks you're great. No, everyone. You know what I'm saying? You all these shootouts we have and all this damage we're doing to the city, saving the city at the same time, but we still damaging the city. And we're getting kicked. We're getting cussed out every day from our captain because of you. And I got to keep backing you up because we're partners. But man, you don't have to steal the show every time, bro.
Yeah. Ja, I think you really are hitting it like. Pause. You're making a great point. In the sense that I think that's probably one of the best character breakdowns of Marcus. I think that clearly explains a lot, right? I think you were spot on when you talked about the jealousy, and I think you were spot on in the fact where you're like, man, and you're everywhere, right? Like like you're everywhere, and you're the top everywhere you go, and I'm never the top, right? Like when you call it out, even in my own house, like you're the man everywhere. I'm tired of it. Right. Like I'm tired of it. And this is like, after what you just said, I give even more props to Martin for I hope he did it on purpose, but having all those layers in a character. It seems like Marcus is like a popcorn character and a popcorn movie.
There's layers to that.
There's a lot going on with him. There's a whole lot going on with him. And I think it's equal. I think part of the reason why Mike fucks with him so hard is we know that Mike didn't have no family.
Yeah.
So he's over at Marcus's house because he never had that experience.
Right, man.
And he think it's all good because he don't know that his partner has these mixed feelings for him, right? Like, and so that's what the dynamic be. Mike don't understand because Mike don't know that he don't always like you. Right. Like Mike don't understand. But it also makes sense that Mike ain't used to know. Mike is probably not used to anybody not liking him. So that's his blind spot, right? That like maybe I can be doing too much. Exactly.
I'm hanging out. I brought a bottle of wine for the wife.
Yeah.
Just don't be here all the time. Don't be great all the time, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because Mike Lowrey is smooth with witnesses. He's smooth. He's a smooth talker. Even when he's playing undercover, Marcus sometimes he breaks his cover because he's scared of mice. So he's a little rude at times. Hey, bro, just chill, man. Just calm down. Let me do all the talking. And think of it like this: the whole love you but not like you. I've seen it in own families. I've seen brothers who are a year apart. One dude is like, bruh, I know he loves his brother, but he gets tired of being in his brother's shadow. You know what I'm saying? And I've seen big brothers be afraid, be mad at their little brothers for getting more shine. They want to be supportive, but like, man, you're better than me in everything, bruh.
Everything.
When my girlfriend has a crush on my brother, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when
you
love your brother, and your brother loves you. Your brother would never betray you. But to be the imperfect person and see a view of perfection in your own home all the time, across the hall from you. Hey man, your brother, this idea, your brother that, your brother. Okay, yeah, I get it. My brother's great, man. What about me? Yeah, you cool.
What about me?
You cool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that's what Marcus and Mike are. Brothers forever. And it started off great, but then, I mean, they're both in the same situation. They both have the same job. They grew up together, but one just has way more money than the other one.
And I think it fucks with Marcus hard, because the truth of the matter is that you only say, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth, or I wasn't a trust fund baby.
Yep.
You only say that to people that you don't respect.
You didn't earn it.
Yeah, exactly.
I resent you for your success.
Yeah. So that's what, and that was the kind of stuff that made me think about, like, does Marcus really like I know he loves him. I came to that conclusion that he loves Mike, and it's evidence because he saved each other's lives. They hold each other down. Like, they do the things that you only do for somebody that you truly love.
Right.
But I kind of double down. Like, I don't think he likes him at all, because for me to say that to you, like, let's say, like, your great grandfather, gave you an inheritance when he passed away. And because of that inheritance, you don't have to work a regular 9 to 5. You can create, and you can write scripts, and you can shoot. And let's say I'm your partner from college, right? We both graduated. We both worked on student projects in college, but I got to go to work, right? Because I didn't get any of that. And every time we talking or collaborating, and you tell me about a script you working on, and I'm like, must be nice, to be able to just kind of like sit around and write all day. Some of us got to go to work. Some of us got to do our writing after hours. It's just like, man, you only really say that to somebody you're not fully fucking with.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, to pull that card in that way. Like, it's one thing if you joking, and that's like an inside joke between the two. What up, rich boy? What up, ho nigga? You know what I mean? Like, if that's the dynamic, right? But if it always seems like I'm taking your blessings and making your blessings a bad thing by comparison to, quote unquote, what us real people have to deal with, that shit the haters do. Right? Like, that's the language of haters. And so Marcus is a hater in that way.
Right. So I hear what you said about the double down on him saying he don't like him at all. When it comes to jealousy, this is my theory on that. When I find out people are jealous of someone else, I don't think their lack of like for that person is real. Because jealousy is in the way of that. For example, I'm not a jealous person. I'm not an envious person. I don't really have those unfortunate characteristics when it comes to someone who I feel might be in a better position than me. I don't like you not because of you doing something better than me or having more opportunities or being awarded something that I never was awarded. I don't like you because of the character that you have or the lack thereof. I don't like you because of how you treat people. I don't like you because of how you treat me. So for Marcus not liking, I don't believe that he doesn't like. I believe he loves him. And I also think he might not like Mike, but it's not because he don't fuck with Mike. It's because
his like is
jealousy, man. That jealousy thing is like, man. For example, if he says, if Mike like, hey, bro, I'll never. If you hate me that much, bro, we'll transfer from each other. We won't be partners anymore, and then I'll be out your life. Marcus Burnett is gonna start missing Mike.
Oh, for sure.
It might take him 6 months. Might take him 6 months to realize it, or even a year. So he'll find some roundabout way. The wife told me to invite
find his way back home.
Christmas birthday party. You can come if you want to, man, but But his jealousy won't let him like Mike.
You're spot on, man.
You know what I'm saying?
Like your understanding of this character is to be commended, right? Like I think you're right.
He's such a relatable guy.
Yeah.
He's such a relatable guy to where, like, in real life, I know guys who, like, you don't dislike me, bro. You're just jealous. That jealousy thing, that's a real thing.
Jealousy and insecurity. Because again, like everything, and we don't know. Well, okay, so one could theorize that like everything that Mike is everything that Marcus wants to be, right? Like even though Marcus never comes out and says it, he carries himself, which you talked about, like, you know, he carries himself in a way that like would seem maybe more appropriate with Mike, right? Like Mike gets buns and cakes. You know what I mean? Marcus don't, right? Like, you know,
not even from
Mike drives a fancy car, Marcus don't. Mike lives in a fancy, you know, hotel. Marcus don't. And Marcus can have anything he wants, and including Marcus is like, including my sister, right? And Mike can have anything he wants, including my sister. And you know what? If I really think about it, he could have my wife. Right? Like, you know, like that's the reality.
He was way too comfortable in part one. Yeah. Way too comfortable with him in the house. Man, here's the thing. It's not about her cheating. I don't think his wife would cheat on Marcus. But Mike would be the kind of, if Marcus was in the picture, she would fall for Mike.
10 out of 10 times.
Quick, fast. And that even eats at the women that want you, Mike, don't want me. But the woman I have wants you too in a way. That's crazy.
Yes.
My sister wants you. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's Marcus's life.
That's jealousy. That's not a real dislike. That's jealousy. So because you have no reason to dislike me, bro. When there's a reason, okay, that's a real reason. Like, hey, bro, I don't like the way you move. You're disrespectful as hell. You're condescending. You talk down to me. I don't like you, bro. Right. That's not Mike. Mike's more like, hey man, let's go solve this case, and he's gun ho about it. Bad boy forever. Yeah. And Mike's like, yeah man, you'll never have a Marcus Burnett is upset with Mike Lowrey, his best friend, because Mike never has a bad day.
Right.
He never has a bad day,
even on his worst day.
Yeah.
Like even on his worst day, he's still winning. He's going to win, and I've got to claw. And I have bad days. Yes. I'm having a bad day today.
Yes.
Right? Like
I left the house having a bad day. Yeah.
I've had to literally go into therapy to help me, you know, I'm grabbing my ears in Wusan to help me deal with the fucking anger that's inside of me.
Right.
Yeah. Right. That's great. I think that's great character work, Ja.
Hey man, appreciate it. And same here, you doing your thing, because your takes, I love you dissect personalities very well. Even if I disagree with your take, a lot of the time I can see where you're coming from. You know what I'm saying? Pause indeed.
Yeah.
So like, but I love part 2 so much because I feel like they did more with the characters. I think they made them more. It wasn't just there was a subplot that wasn't just about solving the case. Yes. Trying to make sure that Johnny Tapio got put behind bars. It was that wasn't the biggest, but that was the biggest battle. But the everyday battle was their friendship, their partnership. You know what I'm saying? They made it. There's 2 lines there, 2 plots. And so the sister in the mix, I think, was brilliant. You know what I'm saying? And that's the best part of the script there. Of course, there's so many things that just happen. The Haitians shootout, and the Haitians hopping up, and Johnny Tapia is just this major Scarface character. Seemed like he was always high. Always had a 5 o'clock shadow. It just sometimes his character seems kind of goofy.
Yeah,
but he played a good villain. He was kind of comedic, kind of silly, but still treacherous.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I do like about the film. It's it's like it's not a comedy. It's not an action comedy, but it is.
Yeah.
Like even So
It's,
even he was funny.
I think it's the magic of Michael Bay, right? Like because like John Tappy is by far a movie villain.
Yes.
Right? Like, like got evil, heart and intent, but he always looked a little stoned or a little hungover or always drunk. But I think like a part of that is like the lens or the lighting that they used in this movie. Like, like what's the right word, John? Like this movie, I don't want to say the aperture is open, but like the color kind of floods. There's like a bleeding effect. That they kind of use where it's just like the colors aren't crisp. They're more like aura kind of colors.
Kind of like stonewashed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's by choice. And I think like that brings the vibrance of Miami out to a certain extent.
True.
But it also brings out the grit of it, and it brings out those little nuances in his face that you could tell his eyes are bloodshot. Like that he's been drinking, and
he ain't slept in 3-4 days.
Yeah, like that, and even though you could do that with makeup, I think the way that either the film that they shot it on or the way that it's shot, like bring out those contrasts that I think like kind of like make it like even more like you can almost smell them. Like you can almost smell the rooms,
like cologne with a splash of must, a little bit.
Yeah, you can almost smell what this guy like smells like by his hop, and I think that's great direction. I think Michael Bay has like a flavor for that. I have a nitpick before we kind of go into awards and a couple other fun things I want to do with you. Just how fast was the big wheel the 18-wheeler going at the chase scene in the beginning of the movie, right? Like like that.
Running down running everything down.
While also like there were like 8 cars that were being towed, and Mike is in a sports car. I don't know if it was a Porsche or a Lamborghini. You mean to tell me he couldn't catch up and get past an 18-wheeler on the freeway?
Right.
That was it. I was like, come on, man. Come on. Right. And she's supposed to be able to dip off of them because, she's an SUV. She's not trailing nothing.
She's out of there.
Yeah. So that whole part is one of those parts where I was just like, okay, this has to happen because we're in a movie, but it don't make no sense.
It's Michael Bay. So we got to have, in the 2-hour movie, we got to have 49 minutes of action spread throughout the film. So an 8-minute shootout here, a car chase there, another car chase to a shootout, like an airplane shootout on the bridge. We got to have all those things going on.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, well, so how do we write that in the dialogue? We'll figure it out when we get there. We're just gonna make sure we have those. You know what I'm saying? That's sometimes Michael Bay, but just to me, I know what I'm expecting. I'm expecting shoot 'em up, bang bang, police heist, somebody getting thrown out of a truck. You know what I'm saying? Just like in the beginning of part 1, they threw out the cop, they killed the cop, the security guard, and threw him out. So all the cops would come to that guy. That's out of like a bakery truck. In part 2, the beginning of the movie, this guy's ODing in the club. They throw him out of the same type of truck. There's a lot of similarities. They're like, okay, so part 3, we got to find a way to get a guy getting thrown out of a truck. So we'll make him. Part 1, he was a cop. It was a diversion. Part 2, he was a customer at a club ODing. Part 3, we're gonna have to get, I don't know, a zookeeper or something. Like they're just throwing shit in there. Like it doesn't even have to make sense. They're just doing it. Why they had to have a guy OD in the club and they throw him outside? I guess that was to show how treacherous this Russian dude was.
Yeah, that he don't even care.
Yeah, I guess how heartless he is, and that's fine. It's a cheap trick or whatever, but it works because I'm in it for the action.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay, so let me ask you a quick question before we get into awards. I think this duo of Martin and Will, I think they're my favorite buddy cops. Like I think
Yes.
they're number one. There's been a lot of them, but like a lot of them don't really like have the same kind of chemistry vibe. I mean, of course, there's 48 hours,
right.
but like I hate Nick Nolte's character in that. Like I don't like him.
Right. So that's why it's hard to make 48 hours a BlackBuster. I'm not saying it isn't, and I'm not saying it is. We got to decide. But and it's not just because there's two black guys playing the leads in Bad Boys, but Nick Nolte is there to bring the cowboys and the white guys to come watch that movie.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because like if 48 hours was, or case in point, Bulletproof with Damon Wayans and Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yep.
Even though Adam Sandler wasn't a cop, but if Nick Nolte was funny, if Nick who would have played Nick Nolte back then? Who would have been funny? That's
like Belushi or
Belushi,
Bill Murray,
Murray,
Dan Aykroyd, somebody off the SNL train.
Chevy Chase. Ooh.
Yeah. Like everybody from that class.
Right. I think but even then you got I think a quick another rival of Bad Boys would be Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
Lethal Weapon. It's not funny, but those movies were dope. A lot of shoot 'em up, bang bang.
I gotta watch Lethal Weapon again.
Go back.
It's been some years since I've seen Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon is good. I think Danny Glover plays a Nick Nolte character, obviously. And Mel Gibson isn't funny, but he's colorful.
Yeah.
He's colorful. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He's schizo, a little crazy, definitely a loose cannon. And you got the guy that...
I'm going to watch that.
Yeah. I don't know if Danny Glover's persona is black enough to be called for it to be a BlackBuster.
Yeah, I don't think he can be.
Right.
Because I think in Lethal Weapon, Danny Glover firmly sits in the sidekick seat. And so it's tough for me to take a black character that's sitting in the sidekick seat and elevate it to a BlackBuster unless they kind of steal the show.
And hint, I'm gonna give you an example of when you steal the show.
Yeah.
Die Hard 3 with Samuel L. Jackson.
Exactly.
If Lethal Weapon was Mel Gibson and Samuel Jackson, boom.
Yeah.
Samuel Jackson brings a different type of energy to the performance than Danny Glover does. No disrespect to Danny Glover, love him. Class, I mean, he's a legend. But Samuel Jackson is special. He's what's the word I'm looking for? He's electric on camera. Oh yeah, for sure. He's crossover. He could do his character. He's so crossover.
Yeah, he's a great opposite to McClane, but he's also a great help to McClane.
Yeah.
At the same time, like that's a really good like buddy comedy.
Imagine this is why Murtaugh, what was his name in Die Hard? Well, Danny Glover's character, and then imagine Samuel Jackson playing that character. And I love Danny Glover, but if Samuel Jackson was that character with Mel Gibson, the movies they might have done 5 of them, 6 of them, motherfuckers, not just 4.
Yeah.
Like because he could play the serious, he could play the old guy about to retire. He's younger than Danny Glover, but his character Samuel Jackson looked old since he was 20. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
He does so well. Look at Shaft, bro. Imagine him and Mel Gibson.
He's great.
He's great.
It's interesting because you bring up Danny Glover and who we love, who's a beloved actor, but it's hard to figure out what his niche was. Like what was Danny Glover really good at, right? And I don't say that as a knock, right? Because he was adequate in everything that he did for sure. But his characters, there's no real rhyme or reason to his career. Like none of the characters he plays are really similar. Like they're all kind of different. Like
right.
It's he's worked his whole career, but these characters are vastly different from each other, and so it's hard for me to connect the dots for Danny.
I don't. I feel like I got to say it because it's our job, and you are the hot take guy. And I want this. I will challenge the listeners and the watchers to hear what I have to say about this hot take, and disagree or agree. And if you disagree, let me know in the comments how you feel about it. I feel like Danny Glover is a solid actor that does great films.
Yes.
He's in the same era as Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
He does great films, but as an actor, he's just solid. Nicolas Cage, as an actor, he's just solid, but he's in these big ass movies.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Face Off, Ghost Rider, Con Air, these great ass films. And he's a regular. Gone in 60 Seconds. He's a regular actor in these good ass films. Danny Glover, no disrespect to him, I would love to work with him. I would love to work with Danny Glover. So I would like, he's that dope. But then you got guys like Samuel L. Jackson. Samuel Jackson is, to me, Samuel Jackson, Lawrence Fishburne, those two guys are going to be older. As they get older, they're going to be even stronger actors as a Morgan Freeman and the Danny Glover. And I love Morgan.
Here's
I love
what's
Morgan,
interesting.
but these guys, I think Samuel Jackson's personality is so more dynamic, and that he brings a lot more to those characters that he plays than the Morgan Freeman and or Danny Glover. No disrespect.
So here's what I think it is. Lawrence Fishburne is a star. Samuel L. Jackson is a star. Danny Glover is an incredible character actor. Probably the most famous Black character actor of all time. So we've seen him in so much stuff. So much so that we want to elevate him to that superstar status, but that's not really what he is in terms of his talent and as far as what he does. He's a great character actor at a time where we're not really used to seeing great character actors like that, right? Danny Glover's contemporaries work far less than him. Right? There's a couple of people that you've seen in movies from time to time. Remember we did Roll Bounce and his daddy. We see that guy, from time to time. But Danny Glover was somebody that had a good character role, a good supporting role in some movies that really blew the fuck up.
Right.
But to your point, right? He played his part. He didn't game change the movie. The movies were not fundamentally different because he was in them, right? Again, no doubt people are going to be like, well, what about Mr. in Color Purple? Probably his best performance.
Absolutely. I hated his
best performance.
I hated him, and I think he was amazing. He was amazing in that film.
That's the peak of his powers. Yeah. The peak of what he did was Color Purple as Mr. And then from there, I think it was back to solid character acting work. No knock. Just solid character acting work.
And this is what I'm saying. This is I call it the Castaway effect. Can you put him on the island and film him for 2 hours and make a movie out of it? No. Tom Hanks showed you that he could. Hey Wilson, hey. Tom Hanks is Green Mile and Forrest Gump, bro.
Yeah.
Come on. You got this dude. You got Samuel Jackson. If you put Samuel Jackson in that role of Castaway, he's going to murder it.
Yeah.
He's going to murder it.
I think in 1990, they cast Danny Glover in Predator 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was probably the last time he got cast as a leading man.
Oh.
That I'm kind of going through. I'm kind of and it ain't his fault. He was set up by the man because Predator 2, coming off the success of Predator, was going to be hard for anybody to do that. But he was leading man in an action, movie with Predator 2.
I'm gonna keep it 100. Yeah,
that was it. They gave him a shot. They gave him a shot.
I think because you had the Samuel Jacksons and you had the Lawrence Fishburnes. They're a little younger. Excuse me, a little younger, a little better. Had the Denzel Washingtons, a lot younger, a little younger, a lot better. You know what I'm saying? I think he came in a time where it was what was it? Is it Paul Winfield with the actor? He's a tweener. Like this is the Sidney Poitier who's older than him.
Yeah, you got him. Exactly right. That's exactly right.
Well, under the class of actors coming under Danny Glover was the Lawrence Fishburnes, not the TV actors like the James Avery, but the Lawrence Fishburnes, the Denzel Washingtons, the Wesley Snipeses, we just said it. Who else? The Don Cheadles. You're
right. See, he's too old to be handsome. And with that crop of actors,
right,
which were like young, handsome, so he's too old for that group, but he's too young than the Sidney Poitiers and the Morgan Freemans, right? Like
the Harry Belafontes,
He's in this no man's land where, and again, like who are his contemporaries? He's kind of like his own thing. And was his own thing. Like if we think about casting him in Lethal Weapon, I don't know if anybody else was working like that, right? Like like nobody else got a role like that, within that 2-3 year stretch until Eddie.
Yeah, let's go back and look at those years when Lethal Weapon came out. That was Danny Glover's heyday. How old he was? I think he had to be like 40 something. And
they looked old. He might have been 27. You know how they looked in the 80s.
27. He's always been knock-kneed too. Like even when he was young, he looked like he couldn't run. But you had another guy
is 87.
Huh?
Lethal Weapon comes out in 87.
Dang, we're gonna find out how old he was. You know a guy that doesn't get talked about a lot, but I love his work? Delroy Lindo.
Delroy. Yes, that's another one.
Delroy. Well, I think Delroy would have done great as Furious Styles in Boys in the Hood, but Lawrence Fishburne got it.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? We got to do clockers.
We got to do clockers, bro. Got to do clockers. Which I love. I love him in. He's just a great talent, bro. Yeah, I'll let it work with him. Yeah. But I know we kind of went on a tangent because this is a Bad Boys 2 podcast hour. However, I think we did some good work, and
this was great.
And once again, go watch Bad Boys 4. Well, we'll do.
We got to do the third one. Because there were a couple of comments when we talked about how we didn't like the third, and people were like, "What?" So we need to, it may be we may need to refresh our browser and be like, maybe I remember it. Like I didn't going into watching Bad Boys 2. I would have told you that, like, if you asked me before I press play which one I like better, like I might have just said Bad Boys 1. Yeah, it's been a year since I saw Bad Boys 2, and I found it really enjoyable. Like I really liked it, and I feel like it stands up very well. So when we reintroduce, maybe 4 is the one we hate. We'll see. We'll see, but yeah, I'll definitely we should do the 3.
What we'll end up doing, because we don't really have one thing we don't have is like a tight schedule of different films, because we've overlooked we've done a lot of classics, but there's some films that we haven't done that, for example, Bad Boys we did back then, and we didn't do Bad Boys 2 until later, till now. We'll do Bad Boys 3 a little sooner because Bad Boys 4 is already out, and we'll have to do Bad Boys 4. We'll do Bad Boys 4 months from now. Just to give y'all a chance to watch it. We don't want no spoiler alerts and stuff like that.
Let it come out on streaming.
But because the way we broke down part 2, and really part 2, we broke down mostly about the relationship between the characters, not so much the plot. Because the plot wasn't as important as the relationship. I love part 2 because of the relationships in the film, not because the bad guy and in the case. The case isn't what sold me on the movie. It was the relationships between these two actors, and even then throwing in Gabrielle Union. I love her character, and that was a great add to the storyline, to the brand of Bad Boys 2.
The plot, Ja, is a race car. Like Here's what I imagine is the boringest job, doing like color commentary or play-by-play for the television broadcast of a NASCAR race, right? It's just like, lap 22, lap 23, lap 24, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like in terms of the plot of Black Boy 2, it's an action plot. And an action plot doesn't always have like nitty-gritty breakdowns.
Right.
But in this, like I think we latched on to what was most significant was like the characters and their relationship, which is in this particular instance, I think more interesting than the plot. So we do what we got to do.
With that being said,
let's do some awards real quick.
Yes,
finish your thought.
With that being said, we're gonna do, maybe not next week, but within the month or so, we're gonna do Bad Boys 3, because we're gonna talk about I want to approach the part 3 the same way we approach part 2 to see if there's any similarities. Perfect. Did it get better? Did it get worse? And why?
Perfect. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's do some rapid fire.
Yes,
MVPs.
Sir.
MVP, LVP, and we'll get to the fist.
All right.
Who's your MVP?
MVP of Bad Boys 2. Damn. Mike?
I think it might be Mike this time around.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the first one, I for sure felt like it was Marcus.
Right.
But I think it's Mike. I think
I can't remember what I said for part 1. I hope I said Marcus, because
I think we said Marcus because again we kind of felt like Marcus was the glue that made the movie work. Right. That was in general. Like whether you would have taken the position that Martin does all the heavy lifting is up for debate. But I think in this movie, I think it's more even in terms of what the two characters give, and I feel like Marcus was the heart of part 1, and I feel like Mike is the heart of part 2.
Mike is going through the dead bodies, pulling out ecstasy. And Marcus is not trying to do that. He's scared of rats. He's like, because Mike is pulling him along throughout the show, throughout this case.
Yep. Yeah, I think Mike is an easy choice.
Yes.
LVP. Any LVP?
LVP. The Russian dude?
Which one?
The one that got killed at the end when he was like, I'm on your side. He got drunk. He was a Russian mob boss.
Yeah.
And Russians are typically way stronger than that.
Yeah.
Like it started with him. He was the initial bad guy that was doing business with Johnny Tapia that kind of was trying to like change the deal up at the last minute.
Yeah.
I will say Johnny Tapia, but he was more important. He played a good bad guy. I feel like, and he was ruthless. He was chopping up bodies and putting them in bins. He did his job well. The other guy, the Russian dude, and his whole crew, they was like,
For me, the LVP is the Miami Police Department. Like, why is it that Mike and Mark have to do so much of this by themselves? Like, like it feels like they have no institutional support, right? Like, and they get told to go out and solve shit. They try to solve it their way and then get cursed out by the chief and everybody else. So it's almost kind of like the Miami PD gives them free range, but it's just like institutional support might help this work a lot better.
They get cussed out a lot, but they're the best detectives on the force.
Yes.
And
by leaps and bounds.
And not even in that precinct, on the force.
Yes, by leaps
and bounds. The
Miami
Police Department, the Miami Police Force.
Yeah.
So I get it. And I will say this. I got to say this. All of these shootouts and these chases, and they running through the favelas at the end of the movie, running through all the whole neighborhood in Cuba. Don't nobody get killed. Ain't nobody is in the house playing dominoes or sleeping or watching TV, and they ran over by that big ass Hummer. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Once again, this comment, in his defense, most action films are like that. They're on the street on the sidewalk, smashing through the city. Burn, 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 move out the way. Everyone runs out the way at the last minute. No one's getting ran over. Yeah, that's movie magic that the action films always do.
I mean, it's either like how they used to do in the 80s, where like everybody dies, right? Like, like everybody gets shot. Everybody takes a bullet.
Right.
Or it's this where it's just like the carnage that you imagine. So like Michael Bay's good at this. The Fast and Furious movies are good at this.
Right.
We're being like how many casualties? Like, and even in this movie, when there's literal trucks falling from, like there had to be murder, death, chaos all over that.
How many funerals are happening that week?
Yeah, but back to work. Like,
back to work. Yeah,
give me some coffee and a donut. Okay. I got shit to do. All right, so let's give it the fist. Bad Boys 2, 5 all-time classic, 1 black movie. Where does this rank for you?
It's 5.
Okay.
And this is why. Do you get it? And I promise you, I was like, I wonder what I gave part 1. 1 had to be 5 too. Yeah. Let me see. Let me see if I'm sure.
I had this here, so give me a second here. I just need to sort it by Excel file because I had all of these. Okay. All right, I'm bringing it up right now. All right. So keep qualifying.
So I got it at 5 because it's Martin Lawrence, it's Will Smith, it's Gabrielle Union, the same cast from part 1, which made it such a great movie. It's funny, it's action packed, the fight scenes are good, the shootouts are dope. There's funny one-liners in between the shootouts. The villains are diabolical enough for them to be good, strong villains. Johnny Tapia was crazy. He was a psychopath, and his mom was a psychopath too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love they gave him. Johnny Tapia didn't have to have a daughter. He had a daughter that he loved and adored. Like, I thought that was cool. It's for what you need. A comedy action film starring a buddy cop duo, Martin Lawrence, Will Smith. They did it again. They succeeded again.
So we both gave Bad Boys, the first one, a 5.
Amen. Okay.
We both gave it a 5.
Yes.
And
okay, cool.
And I think I'm with you. I think this movie, upon this latest rewatch, I think stands like shoulder to shoulder with the original. Right? And there's certain things about the original I like better. There's certain things that I like. I've got to remember. I can't remember if Bad Boys 2 had the same cultural impact that Bad Boys had, but at the same time, everybody I knew was walking around grabbing their ears saying "Woosah."
Woosah. Thank you.
Right?
So that kind of answer. Yes, even to this day, Woosah. Common comedians, hey man, bro, she had me tripping, man. You know what? Let me chill out. Woosah.
Yeah. So that means that it landed.
If part 1 was from that on, that's how you drive. Part 2, from now on, that's how you shoot.
It's a 5.
Yeah, it's a 5, man.
Yeah.
Now and that's why we're gonna do part 3, because I don't even remember the movie as much, but I know it ain't no 5. Yep. So, with that being said, we'll talk about that soon in the next few weeks. We'll talk about, and then I feel like I could do a solid breakdown of why it's not a 5.
Perfect.
And tell you about the things I do like about it. You know what I'm saying? All right, y'all. What you feeling? You feeling like how you feel about it? Yes, sir.
I think that the work that you did breaking down Marcus.
Oh man.
That's worth the price of admission. That was good convo right there, my G.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate it, though. That's what we do, man.
Yeah. And you look right now. You look like you could be a bouncer at a Miami club.
Hey, man.
Yeah. Yeah, can't get in with them shoes.
This is the back of the collar, and this is the back of the belt.
Yeah, you can't get in with them shoes.
Nah, man. Out of dress code, man. Hey, yo, bro, you're not on the list. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
List.
All right, man.
Hey man, that's another episode of BlackBusters, man. Bad Boys 2. We gave it a 5. What do y'all give it? Do y'all feel like our hot takes were solid? Y'all have any disagreements or agreements? Let us know in the comments, man. This your boy Big Ja, along with my
Lowrey.
Tone
Lowrey.
And this is the episode of BlackBusters, man. We catch y'all next time, man. Be good or be good at it. We out of here, man. Peace to the max.
BlackBusters.